Welcome everybody to the shift. It's your afternoon shift where we're going to be having discussion around entrepreneurship and business. And hopefully, by the end of this, you may take away something that will help shift your mindset. Today, I am very, very honored to have my guest, Mr. Jeremy Hans himself, over in the studio. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for inviting me onto the shift. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Just for our guest's sake, I met Jeremy online. Sounds like it's gonna be like a bad dating app story going on here. But I met Jeremy on LinkedIn as well. So I've started getting quite a bit into LinkedIn in the last year or so. And then there was just this guy that was just coming up on my feed the whole time. So I was like, hey, I need to reach out to this guy. And that was Mr. Hans over here. So to kick it off, Jeremy, do you want to maybe just give us some background as to who you are and what you're about?
Well, so I'm the founder of Vat Daily. It is software as a service. It is an idea born out of all the hard and tough lessons learned as a new entrepreneur. Someone that jumped the corporate ship in 2018 and decided to take the wild ride of entrepreneurship
2018, bro. So you are this is your seventh year in the game or out of the
in
game?
the
I don't
game.
know. In the game.
Yeah, in
what
the
were you
game.
doing prior to what were you doing prior to taking that plunge with entrepreneurship?
Well, I worked for a company called CCS Logistics for about 13 years. I was the operations manager of a few branches in Cape Town. Um, we had branches located countrywide, but yeah, that was my story. Worked my way up in that position, and thought I was going to be a career employee and maybe even become the MD. But somewhere around 2017, I found myself in a place where I thought this is not for me, and I need to go and find my place in the world. And about 2 years of mentorship and discussions, and in 2018 I decided it's time. Started the business while I was working,
Hmm.
and about 6 months in, I decided it's time. I think my bosses tried to convince me with a nice big bonus at the end of that year.
Yeah. That's how it goes,
Tried to
bro.
go,
When they see
yeah,
the writing on the wall.
yeah, tried to convince me to stay, but yeah, the time was right. I couldn't do both. I had to dedicate myself to one thing. I needed to pick a side, and I chose entrepreneurship, and it's been fulfilling, but it's also been extremely challenging.
Yeah. So if I may ask, what was the highest level that you were in there in your previous role when you exited? I say exit, but I
Well,
mean when you left corporate.
it was senior management. I was involved with corporate governance. I was a member of the management committee that managed the pension fund. At the time, it was the Old Mutual Super Fund. So we handled investments. So my role was very senior, and it was a well-paid job. It had all the perks. I had lots of freedom, independence.
Mm,
But yeah, I decided to give that up uh, for entrepreneurship. And I think most people do. They come to a point, and you'll never really fully prepared for entrepreneurship. I had lots of discussions with people around what happens, the mindset that you need, but unless you jump in, test the waters, and live through those experiences, live through the challenges, you'll never truly know.
so you leave corporate in 2018, while and you're about 6 months into your job or 6 months into the new business by the time that you make this decision. Can you maybe tell me what that first year or two were like?
Well, and that's, I think, what happened in the first year was sort of wasn't a picture of entrepreneurship. Uh, we were extremely successful, and that was
Oh,
the problem, and we didn't know why. All we knew was we knew how to get sales, and we knew how to do the work. We knew how to install. I knew how to sort of run the business, run the books, and that's all we knew. We never knew anything about marketing. We knew the margins were good in this business, and that was the main reason for me going into this particular industry. The margins were good, and that's never a good reason to go into an industry just because the margins are good. But it worked. It worked for the first year. We had contacts in the construction industry. So as a glass company, you need to know a lot of people. The construction industry is very tough.
mm,
It's very competitive, but the margins were good, and that's why we could, we were actually profitable in the first year, which never happens.
oh,
But and the next year we more than doubled our revenue, and the third year we were probably aiming for about 15 million annual revenue,
okay.
and that's when COVID hit, and then that's when everything just went south.
Yeah. Were you? Did you have any reserves during that COVID period?
Not at all. We'd actually expanded 6 months prior. So the business, just a quick description of the business. It was a frameless glass business. So we installed frameless glass in residential and commercial buildings, and we decided to expand and do aluminium, which meant we needed a factory. So we spent a lot of money putting a factory together, and yeah, I think 3 or 4 months later we were hit with COVID, and all the cash was gone.
Cash is gone. Nobody's putting in any orders because nobody's going to the office. Nobody's building.
The construction industry is pretty badly hit.
And what was that experience like? Because I mean, you're going here from high flying, and I'm sure your projections are like you said, like you're aiming for 15 million, and like you're living that dream, nah? Everything's going up, up and to the right on your
Yeah,
graph.
and
Do you
that's
remember
why
the?
it's so important to have the right mindset for entrepreneurship, because
Mm,
and I speak about this often, when you attach your achievements, um, and your material wealth to that's your identity, and things go wrong, that mindset will fail you, because you think you're a failure because the business is a failure. But that's just not right, because the business is an entity, and it's a vehicle to create wealth. Um, and it's a big mistake to attach yourself to those things. You are a person with hopes and dreams, but it's not your identity. Um, so yeah, that was probably one of the biggest lessons. And subsequently, when I had to close the business, and everything's taken away, so the business is taken away, uh, you're losing lots of money. Um, you basically stripped of everything, and then you find out who you are.
yeah.
You are not your wealth. You are not your car. You are not your house. Uh, you're individual, and yeah, I had to sit with that for a while, find out who I was.
And what did you find there at the end of yourself? What what was behind? What was left behind?
So look, I make no secret about my faith, and I am a Christian, and my identity is in Christ. Um, I spend every single morning in the Word of God, and that was my saving grace. That's where I found who I really was. And now today I know who I am, and you can throw anything at me, tough as nails.
There's a nice confidence, and I guess it's that experience that you draw on as well, because like you've seen the worst, you've seen the bottom, so Everything after that, bro. Bring it. Yes, that's it.
People often ask me why so vulnerable and uh,
Mm,
on LinkedIn.
yeah.
And it's very simple. You know, when you've been to the edge and you've lost almost everything, I've got nothing to lose.
And that's the one thing that did stick out for me, and I think that is why I latched onto the post that you have. So, Jeremy, if you aren't following, please do go and check his profile out and give him a follow. There's this daily just update around entrepreneurship, around business, but there's also, like you alluded to over there, like this vulnerability and just some honesty that's happening. So when you're getting a lot of this other noise where people are really like, living their greatest best life, there's sprinklings of that. I do see that with you, like, through you and your family. But there's a sincerity and a genuineness that I have, that I see from you. So yeah, I appreciate you. I follow your stuff, and I think that's a good dovetail into your actual LinkedIn strategy, because I think, what's your current streak? I think you're like on, must be like 100 daily
I
posts.
think I think I started on the 27th of September,
Mhm.
and I've
Yeah,
posted daily since then. So I'm over 100 posts.
yeah, yeah. And what are you like? Are you What's the game plan of a year? Did you have like a goal for 100? Did you have a goal for 5? Or like, I don't know you. I don't know you prior to this. So were you posting like haphazardly? What can you maybe just tell me what that was like before?
So yeah, for LinkedIn, I think I downloaded the app in 2016. So I've been on LinkedIn for a while,
Yeah,
and firstly as an employee, just following trends and following important people. And when I started the business, we actually we actually got our first big deal through LinkedIn, and there was no strategy to it.
yeah.
We met someone, we made a phone call, he told us come out. We went out a week later, we gave him a quote, and that was the job, and that was 70% of our revenue in the first year.
Boom.
Boom.
Right place, right
And
time, bro.
yeah, and I've been on and off since then. But last year, I I I I found out exactly what I wanted. I met someone through LinkedIn called Gerald Duran, and through discussions with him, I came to a point where I decided, I know what I want now, and Vat Daily, starting Vat Daily, is what I want to do. So my strategy for LinkedIn was I decided to find my ICP, and
Mm.
I actually commented for 6 months before I posted anything.
Oh,
So yeah, so the reason for that is just create visibility and sort of get known around accountants and entrepreneurs, and then because you can't come into LinkedIn and write a post and expect people to know who you are,
mm.
and that's exactly what I did. And once I when I hit the first post last year, I got 10 comments and probably double the likes. And that's only because people knew I was. So it worked. And because I've been consistent, because the content is looks like it's resonating,
Yeah.
and I'm here daily. I don't just post. I comment, and
Mm.
I'm trying to build relationships. And it is. I commented today that it's opening doors that I wouldn't even gotten close to knocking on, and that's the power of this platform. I know a lot of people complain about it, but it's what you make of it.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in that. I think I also had LinkedIn. It was actually referred by one of my customers. I was asking him how's he getting all of his clientele, because I was doing podcasting for him. I was helping him with his podcasts, and I was like, "Where are you getting all this?" And he just said LinkedIn. And prior to that, my knowledge of LinkedIn had been like you had, like, you downloaded the app probably when you were a student, or you just started working because you needed to put on like your resume. your CV, post it, and kind of have that, without giving it as much attention, I think, as it was necessary. And then after I was referred to that, that was when I started actually looking at the detail. And I think it's such a lack of space compared to the other socials, right? Like you everywhere else, people get roasted, you get trolled all the time. Um, but just by coming in, there's like the supportive community, and that's what I got from you, because like I think I commented on your post, and then you started commenting on my post, and it's not like it's like genuine uplifting stuff, but not like, like this airy fairy, like, oh, we all hug trees and that kind of thing, but like, the positivity in that, like, I see what you're doing in your post, here's something else that you can maybe think of that can add on to it, and it's like you build this thought that just expands outwards. So I've really appreciated, like I said, like all of the stuff that you've been putting out, and it helps to give me some direction there as well. So you made reference to an ICP, just so that we're all on the same page. That's your ideal customer profile. Do you want to maybe give us some idea as to like who that ICP is, and like, I've heard of this Vat Daily, and I think I have an idea about what it relates to, but I'm probably gonna butcher it if I try to try to explain a bit of it. So if you can maybe just take us ICP and then into what Vet Daily is.
I think with ICP, I think just in terms of your strategy on LinkedIn,
Mm,
for me, it's not trying to actually target your ICP. It's trying to get
okay.
close to the ICP. So when I started it was kind of broad. It was I need to get close to entrepreneurs with a revenue of between 2 million and 20 million,
Yep.
uh, situated in urban areas. But I also knew that I needed to get to close to accountants as well, who have the clientele that I need to get close to as well. There would be sort of a distribution to the client that I'm looking for.
Mm,
And LinkedIn is not just it's not just about the ICP. You know, when you're posting, you're exposing yourself to investors as well.
yep.
So you are on here. At least I'm pitching um, to people that I want to get close to, people that are interested in this idea, and those people have reached out and are genuinely interested. So I chose my pillars, as they all talk about. You know, I talk about
Yep.
entrepreneurship, I talk about mindset, and I talk about that as much as I can, what I incorporated,
Yeah.
and hopefully it has resonated. But funnily enough, it is with LinkedIn, the content that resonates the most is the personal ones.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with what I'm trying to, this idea that I'm trying to get out there.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of those posts, right, of people just trying to sell the whole time, and I think that's why it's refreshing when you actually hear people's stories, and I think you're building that personal branding that we have over there. Okay, so take me into this VAT Daily, value added tax, implemented in South Africa in the early '90s, and it's no. It's one of the most challenging parts when it was introduced for me in my accounting module and in my tax module. I was like, "What the hell?" They still kept it at 10% just to make it easy for us in varsity, so that you could spot when something included VAT or it didn't, right? And then in third year, they're like, no, stuff it, it's 14%. And you were like, what? But now it's 15%, of course. So maybe just
Yeah,
take us through what it is that you do, and yeah.
yeah. So for any entrepreneur, who registers as a VAT vendor, there's 50% that you charge. You
Mm,
charge VAT on every invoice, and the money that you charge doesn't belong to you. So there is an input and an output VAT. And the difference between what you charge and the VAT that you pay is owed to SARS. That money doesn't
mm,
belong to you. And for most
yeah,
businesses in South Africa, that's a bi-monthly payment. So we have about over 900,000 VAT registered vendors in South Africa.
mm,
Only about 600,000 of them are actually active. Um, and this is according to the latest stats from SARS.
yeah,
And And South Africa has actually got, in terms of compliance, in Africa, South African businesses are the most compliant. Um, but there are businesses that are not aware of their liability. And
Mm.
the conversations that I got from entrepreneurs is that I get the call at 24 hours before it's due, and then I have to pay 100K, 200K, and I don't have the cash
Yeah.
because I spent it.
Yeah.
So, SARS is, if you don't pay, there are serious consequences, and the consequences are becoming more grave as we speak.
Yeah.
They are starting to look at your bank accounts. There is a there's a VAT modernization program that's being spoken about, where there'll be more sort of intense scrutiny on VAT.
Mm.
So I'm not trying to scare anyone, but it will be in your best interest to start preparing and actually just paying on time. Uh,
Yeah.
it's if you're not, and there are three things: people either don't pay because they don't want to, and that's the truth. They accept that they'll pay the penalties, but there are people that, and then there are people that just forget about it,
Mm.
and then there are people that don't have a mechanism to put the VAT aside. So
Yeah.
the idea for VAT Daily is, when that money is paid into your bank account, we will track all the sales, track the VAT, and we will give you the opportunity or the option to transfer the 15% to a secure wallet, and save that money there till when the payment is due.
So I think I mean, I understand that, like, when you're in the grind, especially like the smaller companies, I think if you have a dedicated accounts department, it may be a bit easier. But when you have a smaller team, you're paying, apart from VAT, it's SDL, it's PAYE, it's all of these other things that you kind of just get stuck in from an HR perspective, and you just money keeps going over to SaaS, and I think you can get lost in it. And I think I've been guilty of that as well, of just sometimes slipping with regards to not watching the text properly. And I can tell you, there's very few feelings that are worse than getting an email from SARS when you get that notice to say something is due, and or it's a penalty notice. Um, so especially, I think a lot of people don't know this. Actually registering for VAT, if you anticipate a turnover of R1 million in a 12-month period, you actually need to be registered for VAT. And I saw a lot of people getting frustrated because SARS is now doing an activity where they're not waiting for you to even register for VAT before it becomes like they start asking you for that. So you think, okay, now I can register for VAT, but then they're like, take out your assessments, and they look like 2-3 years back. And then they're like, okay, fine, now you owe us the output VAT from all of these other sales, but you weren't claiming the input, and it just gets absolutely disgusting.
So the scrutiny is there, and you just explained and it's going to get more intense. SARS is a well-oiled machine, and they are
Mm,
looking at all sorts of software and improvements to collect, and that's what it's about.
sure.
Okay, the when we talk about the thing called the VAT gap. So what the VAT
Mm,
gap is the amount, in terms of a certain country. So South Africa needs to collect this, and a specific amount of VAT for a year. So it's the difference between what should be collected and what's actually paid,
mm,
and that gap across continents of South America, Africa, and in Europe, it's staggering. It is billions. So countries are losing revenue because
sure.
people are not paying. And then the penalties in across these countries on the businesses, and businesses are incurring billions of dollars in penalties,
Yeah.
and that's scary.
Yeah. All right. So Vat Daily, bro. You're helping us to avoid the penalties that come with SARS. And I think it's just, I mean, it's really just good practice. And I think when you put the systems in place,
It's
you
a
don't need to
revenue
be,
leak. It's a
yeah,
revenue
you don't need to be
leak at the
reactive,
end of
nah.
the day. Yeah,
It's being proactive on
being
on that
proactive.
side of things. Yeah. Okay. So Vat Daily, we'll be able to. Where do we find out more about that? We contacting you directly.
So you can contact me directly. You can contact me on LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
have a wait list that's in my LinkedIn profile in the bio. So you can
Sure.
go there and find out more about what it's all about. And yeah, join the waitlist and see what's coming. It's also about iteration for me. It's finding out what people want. Another piece of business advice: don't fall in love with your business. Don't fall in
It's
love
my
with.
baby,
Don't fall
bro.
in love.
It's my
Don't
baby.
fall in love with the idea. It's an entity. It's a vehicle for wealth. That's all
Sure.
it is. And people need to remember that. So and treat it as one.
Gotcha. All right. Look, we're drawing to a slow close. I'm just checking out if we have any questions or comments. We have one comment from Kifiwe Lakawa. Lakabe. Yo, butchered that. Sorry. And she just said that this is powerful. I think she mentioned that around the time when you were sharing of your personal stories. So thanks for that, bro. So in a wrap up for this, what is 2025 holding out for you, bro?
2025 is a very active year, and
Yeah,
and and LinkedIn's a big part of that. I've been invited on a few more podcasts. There's some exited founders in Dubai that's been reaching out to me that want me
yeah,
to be part of their platforms, talking about entrepreneurship and family and how you manage family and entrepreneurship. And then there are other opportunities that are waiting for me that I need to decide on. In fact, I need to decide on this week. So it's going to be a busy year, and
yeah.
I'll share more on LinkedIn about those
Nah,
opportunities.
I like that. You've got good problems, bro. That way you
I've
have
got good problems.
overabundance of choices. What kind of choice do I make to where do I go to from here? Because there's so many options, as
I'll
opposed to a
share
sense of
something with you,
scarcity.
Kevin.
Yeah,
Share something with you. A year ago today, I was
mm.
looking for a job.
You're throwing in the towel of entrepreneurship.
I needed money. And
Mm.
that's entrepreneurship's not linear. And if you can accept that, um, I think you'll do well. If you can accept that there's
Yeah,
going to be challenges where you need to make a choice because your family needs to eat,
mm.
then you
And I
need to
think
make
there's
that choice.
yeah. I think look, there's different schools of thoughts on that as well that I've been reading. Some people are like, you mustn't have a plan B so that you can go all in. Um, I have a difference with you, and I say there's no shame in that. If you're leaving corporate to try this new thing, and it doesn't necessarily work out, you need to. There's nothing wrong with going back in your mind, even if you need to like that, just to so that you can get more chips to come and play the game again,
Exactly.
and not be scared out of it. Did you take that job? Did you take a job?
Uh, Now things have turned around, so now I'm consulting.
Yeah,
I have two more businesses, a cleaning company and
yeah.
a labor supply company. And yeah, there's another opportunity that I need to make a decision on this week. So
Lekker man. All right. And on that note, let's wrap it up. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for your time. I really do appreciate it. May the good Lord bless your endeavors, my man, as you put him now as number one. And yeah, we look forward to seeing where you're going to be growing and what you're going to be doing. So, again, please, if you haven't already, please do check out Jeremy's LinkedIn profile over there. Hit the follow, and you'll be pleasantly surprised by the lack of content that he's putting out on a daily basis. And you're putting, yeah, bro, you're putting me under pressure, here, bro. I need to start going to the daily, right? So thank you again very much for that, bro, and have a good evening. And to our listeners as well, thank you very very much. Until next week, Cheers. Have a great one. Bye.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for the opportunity. Keep well.